I'm frozen. Oh no, I froze. I froze again. Time for the
Check 1 2. Is this thing on? Check 1 2.
Crazy show opening, Justin.
Check 1 2. Radio show. Mark Sovel is on. He's playing a song. Check 1 2. Radio show. Check 1 2. Radio show. Check 1 2. Radio show.
All right. Well, here we are. We are here on the We Are Here channel. I'm Sovel, and that on the other side, right there, I'm my Brady Bunch brother, Justin Warfield from She Wants Revenge, and we're live on the We Are Here channel on YouTube. Thanks for making yourself available, Justin.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. I have a surprising amount of time on my hands right now.
Do ya?
Yeah.
Not running around. I heard you're building a studio at home.
Yeah. Luckily, it was already built before this all went down.
So the reason we're here is that Linda Perry, Carrie Brown of We Are Here, they put up this YouTube channel with the specific mission of helping to, pull people together and raise some funds for MusiCares, their COVID-19 fund that they're putting together to help musicians. I mean, of course, everybody's hurting in our community. Musicians hurting a lot because shows just came to a dead stop. So appreciate the opportunity to come here and, do whatever we can to help. So Justin, She Wants Revenge had a tour you were gonna do, and you had to pull out of that, right?
Yeah. So we had, I think my sense of time is a little screwy, as I'm sure most people are. Most people are right now. But I think it was last weekend. We were supposed to be in Mexico City and Guadalajara and Monterrey. And because there weren't a lot of documented cases of COVID-19 in Mexico, they elected to keep the shows going. The biggest festival in South America, Viva Latino, was still running. Guns N' Roses never pulled out of it. And Adam and I felt like it was not only best for the health of us and Scott and Thomas and all of our families and friends, but that we needed to lead by example and be a part of the greater good for the public health. And we just felt that we couldn't in good conscience be amongst other people doing exact opposite of social distancing. And as somebody myself who's been following this from when it was, in China, and has been talking to people with connections to those who work in infectious disease, who's been talking to people who have relationships with people from the World Health Organization. I think a lot of people have become amateur epidemiologists over the last few weeks. I'm personally on, I think, somewhere around day 18 or 19 of staying inside and distant and having just my family here and only going out for supplies. I'm not trying to be the guy that was like, I like that band before anybody, but I definitely saw the writing on the wall early. And I was just talking to a friend who was in Utah making a record with one of my favorite artists. And he said, yeah, dude, like, I watching your Instagram stories and you were freaking out. And you were sort of one of the only people that were, and I trust you. And so we were reading your updates while we were making a record in the mountains in Utah, trying to see what was going on and what was real. And because I was following real sources and really pretty serious health officials, it was really clear to me that the writing was on the wall. This was happening. And so canceling Mexico was easy. I knew that, Live Nation and AEG and all these companies that are in the live music business were going to start canceling shows. And at the time we canceled Mexico City, Coachella wasn't postponed. And I said, listen, like, there's this live music as we know it is going to cease. And it was a really hard choice because the people of Mexico in Monterrey haven't seen us in years. We've never played Guadalajara. We have a lot of fans in front of the city, and they were really counting on this. Tickets had been purchased. And I was like, I don't care the financial impact to us. We'll lose out on the money. We'll make sure they're refunded. We'll give the money that we have back. We can't do this. And Adam was really the one who led the charge of that. It was like, we can't do this. And I was like, dude, I'm with you. Like, I'm buried in numbers and stats, and like, I see where this is going. And it was tough because the Mexico promoters were like, listen, we only have 7 cases here. And I was like, I wanted to tell them, like, listen, 80% of people who have this get infected from people who are asymptomatic and don't know they have it. Yeah. So it's just bad information to say, hey, we have 7 cases, because also the Johns Hopkins website, which is like the global tracker, if we reported a case right now and we sent it to them, it wouldn't show up for 2 weeks. So the numbers are not what they seem. It's much bigger.
They don't see the numbers because they weren't testing. They weren't
right.
showing up. Like, for instance, so posted yesterday that she thinks she has it.
Right.
But she's not been tested because the doctor told her she doesn't necessarily meet the standards because she's not dying. You can't really get tested unless you're dying. And so now her child and her girlfriend all are infected, but they're not showing up in the numbers.
Yeah. Well, that's really too bad. I mean, that's one of the things. It's like, and on one hand, having friends in the healthcare field who are saying, listen, if you have mild symptoms, don't go to the hospital. You're going to actually like risk like getting others sick. And if you don't have it, you're going to get infected there. So stay away from there unless you really, really, really need it. The other thing is like, there's a few things like, if you do have it, don't take ibuprofen, Motrin, or Aleve. Take nothing with ibuprofen, like it aggravates it. It's better to take Tylenol, acetaminophen. If you do have it, like a very well-known songwriter, musician, recording artist Andrew Watt was really open with his story on Instagram, and he was misdiagnosed with the flu, and they gave him Tamiflu and prednisone and ibuprofen, all 3 of which aggravated his symptoms, and he was on on oxygen. So going back to Mexico City, I feel like, I actually think that that Viva Latino was the last festival that ran anywhere. Like, and
I think it was Guns N' Roses' last show. They pulled out after that.
Yeah. And, so basically, like, for us, it was a no-brainer. We knew that we needed to, for the public safety, to lead by example, that we needed to socially distance. Adam and I at that point, hold on one sec. It's right. Adam and I at one point, we're like, look, like, we want to be around each other. We want to hang out. We have to social distance. Like, it's just like, it's absolutely and wholly unprecedented. We've not seen anything like this in 4 generations, in 100 years. And while there's so much evidence that if we don't really do the right thing, this is going to be something that lasts longer than 18 months, that Zeke Emanuel, one of the most prominent doctors in the country, brother of Rahm Emanuel, former speaker, former chief of staff for the Obama White House, and his brother, Ari Emanuel, head of WME. Zeke is one of the foremost physicians in the country. And he's like, look, if we don't act now within the next 14 days, he said this in a New York Times piece yesterday, if we don't take these decisive actions, this could affect us for a decade. And so for me, like, when I look at my little simple part of it all as just the dude who like makes music and is also like had filmed things in development where I'm trying to like lend my voice to other media, the best thing for me inside of a time like this, where I could really go inside and freak out as a totally neurotic person, with too much information and a little too much time on his hands. The way for me to deal with this is to get out of self. And this, what we're doing, is important. Whether we don't say another word about COVID and we're just to talk, this is helpful. It's better for me than binging shows. It's better for me than even like maybe writing a song or being creative, because I have to go outside of myself, like taking care of my son and my wife and my family and their immediate needs and being attentive and present is getting outside of myself. Helping other people, what Carrie and Linda are doing here by giving people voice to talk about the global trend, also having the ability to just interface and just stay connected. Like, how many of us have probably FaceTime with people that we don't see on a regular basis, and you're reaching back and you're going, who are the people in my life that are important? Like, when you strip away all the BS, can we curse on this or not?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So when we strip away all the bullshit, right? Ultimately, what matters? Like, if you're told you have shelter in place, you have a safer home edict from the government, from the local government, you have to decide pretty quickly who you want to be with, what you need, right? It's like when the Malibu fires happened. I know people that went back for their possessions and they said it's shocking what you realize what matters when you throw it all in the car in a minute and a half's time or whatever. So I think that we're all in a place where we're all dealing with uncertainty to various degrees, depending on our health, depending on our location, depending on our finances. We're all dealing with fear. We're all dealing with reflection, right? And looking back at things. And for me, the time is incredibly beneficial. I don't want to sit here like someone of total privilege and means saying like, I don't have to worry about shit, because we all are essentially, most of us are probably dealing with like, oh my God, what's next? As somebody that makes a living by being in a room playing to hundreds and sometimes thousands of people, I have no idea when I'm going to be able to do that. It would be irresponsible for me to say when. I know that there's engagements we had, going back to what you said about tour. After Mexico, we didn't have anything. We had something in May, the Cruel World Festival, and that's been postponed.
Yeah.
I have my own thoughts on whether or not there will be live music in the year 2020. And I do not. And I'm just going to say that, like, I'm not trying to be a naysayer, that based on the scientists that I follow, I think science is definitive. And for people that are not believing what's happening and following the scientists, it's as ignorant and arrogant as people who think that climate change will not affect them. So I think that there is a world in which we don't see another live performance unless it's like this in the year 2020, and that it resumes in 2021. Also, a world in which there is a safe way to convene and play music in front of people in the fall. But I can, without getting overly political, I don't think without real leadership at the top, at the government, at the federal level, and not just state, that we are going to take the necessary precautions to get us back faster. I think that the economic and the health concerns are so great, but I think that we're going to be at a crossroads, and we already are at, but it's going to come to a head where we're going to have to choose in an era and a world and a country that is so about corporate greed. We're going to have to choose what's more important, the health of the American people or the economy. And I think that rushing back to things is going to be really a bad move. And I think that, like, it's like a Band-Aid, like, well, sort of the reverse Band-Aid. If you rip it off fast and you go, hey, like, it's going to hurt less. The truth is we need the slow approach for this. We need to take our time. So what Carrie and Linda are doing, what people are trying to do right now, we have to find ways that we can communicate with people and share what we do in new platforms and new outlets until it is safe to do otherwise. So we had Cruel World, we had Mexico City, and we had some stuff pending in June that has not been announced. I'm sitting here and trying to figure out, like everybody else, my future, the future of my bandmates, and we have no fucking idea what's going to happen.
That's what's important about what MusiCares is doing with this fund. If viewers are not familiar, MusiCares is part of the Grammy organization, and they always help people in the music community. With this organization, they do these benefit concerts like they did with Tom Petty and Bob Dylan and whatnot. And they take that money and they help musicians, and not just musicians, but people who work in the music industry, which are, roadies, engineers, tech people who
so many people.
Audio. So all those people were immediately put at work indefinitely. In fact, one of the big turning points was when they canceled South by Southwest. That was
the one.
Whoa, that's huge. There's so
Yeah.
much money to be lost there. That must be serious. And
So
then,
serious.
so everybody who's a musician who had plans for the year, 'cause it's all done a year ahead of time, their year is gone. They don't know what they're going to do. So that's why, Linda and Carrie put this on. I'm trying to point to the button. There's a button on this page, a donate button that you can donate to MusiCares, and that goes to those folks who are out of work. Now I know that there's the relief package, the stimulus package, and that the details aren't specifically out yet, but they will include certain independent contractors, and so maybe that'll catch some of the people, but a lot of people are going to fall through the cracks.
Yeah. I mean, my experience with MusiCares, started 21 years ago when I met a guy by the name of Buddy Arnold, who had started the Musicians Assistance Program, and it was helping musicians and people in the recording industry get to find treatment and recovery from drugs and alcohol. And as a sober musician and person, I didn't personally go through MAP, the Musicians Assistance Program, but I was very, very, very close friends with the people who ran it. And then that was absorbed into MusiCares. And Buddy's no longer with us, but when I met the people of MusiCares, it was such an amazing thing to see the sort of loving arms that they embrace the industry, and especially an industry which is so fraught with addiction and alcoholism and mental health issues and depression and all these things, like every other industry. But not a lot of industries sort of give you a pass as an alcoholic or addict the way sort of it's glamorized and glorified and sort of codified into the fabric of being a rock and roller or whatever, whether you're James Brown or whether you're Kurt Cobain. I think through time, people sort of turned a blind eye towards that. Whereas if you were like a physician, they're not going to be like, oh, he's a little loaded today, but it's cool. Let's get an interview out of him. So MusiCares, to me, not only took care of so many musicians and people I know in the industry, but the benefits they do, awarding the person of the year and having this incredible fundraiser where you're seeing some of the most important historical legacy artists perform and getting to have a seat at that. They honor somebody for their service and what they do in the recovery community. MusiCares has really taken incredible care, no pun intended, of the recording industry. And like you're saying, whether you're somebody that rigs the staging at festivals, or whether you're the guitar tech for a touring band, whether you're a producer, a songwriter, a musician, we're all in this community together. And while there are unions, it's not the same as like IATSE or something. So there's less protection for us. So having the good people of MusiCares to support us is incredible. And it's no different with the COVID-19. So I would encourage anybody who has the means, whether it's exorbitant or whether it's $5, whatever you can give. And I know it's a tough time to ask people to give because we're all uncertain about where the next, about the future, right? Some people, they're like, they don't know where the next check's coming. Some people, they're like, they don't know how long their savings is going to last, right? But if you have if you love, if there's bands that you love, right? And there's festivals that you attend, just know that some of the artists that you are most fond of and connected to benefit from MusiCares. So if you would normally go and buy a piece of merch at a concert, if you would normally go to a show, you would normally download, pay these streaming sites, which barely pay artists, maybe the amount that you could spend for your streaming site for a month or 3 or 6, you can donate to this fund and know that it will help to keep people in the recording industry and then the music industry fed and alive and a roof over their heads. So I would encourage anybody with the means to donate wherever that button is.
There's a button. And of course, we know everybody's hurting. Everybody out in the world is hurting right now. So it's not just
Everybody's hurting. And look,
That's
there will
horrible.
be stimulus. Yeah, there will be stimulus and there will be local and federal stuff that comes through. But just the way that MusiCares has responded for the crisis of, look, we know that there is an opioid epidemic in the country. We know that there's massive mental health and addiction issues in the country. And MusiCares addresses that for our community, just as they are now tackling COVID-19. So I've personally been on the phone with MusiCares in the last 72 hours, and they're amazing. And so I have a relationship directly with someone there and people there. And so it's something that I plan to support. And when we're back up and running and we're able to play music in front of people, I'd be able to play and have She Wants Revenge perform at a MusiCares benefit to be able to pay back some of the goodwill that they've done for our community and our people.
And there's a gap between whatever help might be coming from the federal government. It's not going to come immediately. And what MusiCares is really good at doing is like helping people when they need it, and they do it fast. They'll turn it around. Like you're going to lose your apartment. They're going to get money to you in time. Or if you need to get to rehab or whatever it is, I've seen them do it for friends where they react fast. So
it's not a bureaucracy.
You're not waiting 6 months or 6 weeks, or they'll do it tomorrow. So that's where they come in to help fill in the gaps to make sure people don't fall through the cracks and hit the ground. I want to talk to you, Justin, about the nonprofit that you began, but I want to take a break to play a song that you were turning me on to. And then after that song, we can come back and talk about your nonprofit if you have the time.
Yeah. Not my nonprofit, the nonprofit that I'm helping with.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So what was the song you wanted? You sent me the Bandcamp from.
Oh, so so the band is called More, and
for it here. What's the name of the song?
Keep It in the Family.
Okay, let me see. You talk about it while I find it.
So really, really close friend of mine, Lynn, at New Community Management. You may know him from the pizza.
Sure.
Yeah, you may know him as Edward Shar's manager. You may know him as one of the people who manages Dan the Automator or Bad Sons. He's an Angelino. He's a Valley boy like me. I met him through Adam Braven because Adam knew him when he was probably less than 13 years old. And he's just a great dude. And we exchange music and ideas and share things all the time and do little listening sessions. And he sent me an unsolicited link a couple months back. And he said, listen to this. And I was driving in the car and I put it on. And I was so taken by it. And I was like, it reminded me of Ram era solo McCartney. It reminded me of a sort of John Bryan production style. And little hints of Michael Penn, great singer-songwriter stuff. The production was incredible. And I was like, how'd they get this sound? How'd they do this? And then I looked closer at the Bandcamp and it was iPhone demos. And I was like, well, surely that means they make I was like, there's no way it was recorded on an iPhone. Well, when I later went and saw the band play at Genghis Cohen, I talked to one of the people in the band and I found out he showed me the app and actually the sessions for it. And they did entirely record it without even using an external microphone. And so the Bandcamp page that I sent you, they recorded that on their phone. Wow. Which sort of speaks to the ingenuity of me being able to talk to you right now, and for Carrie and Linda to have a YouTube channel up, and just how we can work with technology now. It's so incredible. And what means are at our disposal to create and disseminate and communicate, right? So these guys made a record that was one of my favorite records in recent times. And basically they recorded a new album that's yet to be released, but they also put out this, the label that signed them was like, yeah, you could put this out too. And so they were able to release that Bandcamp thing. And most people don't know about it. It's my favorite new band. I'm so taken by them. They're rad people. They're amazing live. And it was funny because they were playing maybe 3 weeks ago, right before everything got kind of canceled. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I'd really love to come, but I'm not leaving the house. Yeah. And so when you said, pick some tunes, I was like, you know better than anybody, because we go back, 14 plus years or something, that one of the things we've always done, and I took, this cue from you, is you break new music and you turn people on to new music that you love. And it's like the fun of sharing playlists and what people do. When I used to come on Check 1 2 and play bands that people haven't heard, or say, hey, dude, do you know about Io Echo? You're like, yeah. Or like, do you know about Monsters Waiting or whatever? Like, More is my new favorite local LA band. And
Right on.
I think when the world realigns, they're going to be pretty fucking massive. And it's super, super sick. So yeah, it's good vibe music.
Okay, let's take a listen. And then after that song, let's chat about Dine 1-1. Okay.
Yes.
This song is called Keeping It in the Family. Let me know if it sounds right.
3, 4.
You silver thing, I'm worrying, can't tell you much of anything. My timing isn't what it used to be. Wouldn't want to sell you out, my undercover run around, but lying don't come to me as easily. When all that it should take is honesty. We're keeping it in the family. Won't ever be quite like it was if we keep it all in the family. Meeting through the back, you talked about our better halves beside me, using words too carefully. Say you think I thought you said I should have taken you instead. Funny how suddenly it dawned on me. All that it should take is honesty. We keep it all in the family. Won't ever be quite like it used to be. Keep it in the family. The sooner that it's gone out of the way, you'll move on again someday. I'll have you on the phone. I can say I wasn't wrong. I learned to leave it, so I might regret not giving you your due respect. Exciting makes a weak apology. I wouldn't want to play that card and hold you in such high regard. It's likely that you would think much less of me, when all that it should take is honesty. We'll keep it all in the family. I don't think I'm ever your sympathy. I keep it in the family. I keep it in the family. I keep it in the family.
That's More. Keeping It in the Family. Do you think they're going to have a problem with their SEO optimization because they have such a common word for her name?
I mean, dude, probably, but like that's what I like to call that's a December 2019 problem.
It's kind of a
You know what?
February
A couple of us have started now saying AC and BC.
Wow.
Obviously the C being coronavirus. So
Yeah.
that's a very BC problem.
That's a good observation, Justin. It's, I don't know if there's a graphic up or not, but if people are popping in, it's Justin Warfield from She Wants Revenge. And we're talking about, well, life as it is right now. This is how we're talking with each other. And everybody's kind of being called to do what they can do in the way that they can do it. And Justin has gotten involved with a way to feed the people who are on the front lines. So tell us about Dine 1-1.
So first I will just say, and I'll say it a few times so that people could hear it. We're called Dine 11, Dine 11. So it's Dine 11. And the website, it's all very new. So I'm just I got a lot of screens going on right now. So it is dine11.org. So dine11.org. And basically what Dine 11 is this is how it started. There was a really good friend of ours in the Silver Lake community where we live is the healthcare worker. And she had expressed to her friends and to her husband, which then was expressed to some of us, that the way to help the people on the front lines of this battle against COVID-19, the ER doctors and nurses, the ICU doctors and nurses, we know that there's so many more, but to address the people who are the most at risk, who are like criminally undersupplied, right? Coming from the federal government. The fact that they don't have time to stop and have a proper meal. I was DM'd from a friend of mine who said that his girlfriend had just done 5 12-hour shifts back to back. They're working tirelessly on the front lines, and some of them don't have the proper masks, at a hospital, in a first world in United States, in Los Angeles, at a hospital in Beverly Hills, Cedars-Sinai doesn't have enough masks. That's fucking insane. So we're sitting here in the safety of our homes, and people are figured out how to watch Netflix together as a group, right? But we can't get enough masks to the people on the front lines. So what started as a couple of friends, my friend Chris Say and Lola Gladini, when they were sitting here going, okay, well, Cedars needs meals. They can't stop. Let's get them meals. So Lola went to a guy at bar, is it Ama? I think it's called Bar Ama, and downtown. And he went and opened his kitchen, which had just shut, and they made trays and trays of, with clean, properly, somebody who'd been quarantined in the kitchen, because ultimately, sort of just to digress for a second, if people are wanting, is it say out, the proper protocols, as I understand it, for a restaurant, for a takeout place that is adopting to a new model of how to keep the doors open. The best thing and I'm not in the hospitality industry, but I'm communicating with them daily now. In the perfect world, if someone has the means to take their employees, to salary them and pay them and say, stay home for 2 weeks. Don't be around anyone. Self-quarantine. If you are not sick after 14 days, you can come back to work in the kitchen, right? So I don't know what they're doing at Pizza Hut right now, right? But what I do know is that places that I know, like Honey High in Echo Park, are saying, hey, listen, you guys got to go home and stay safe and then come back to work. So with that said, Lola went to this place. They made safely trays of enchiladas, and she delivered them with the mask and gloves, practicing social distancing, to the ER at Cedars-Sinai, and the doctors were really appreciative. And what that turned into was she had gotten a commitment from our friend, Brandon Boudet and Warner Ebbing from the 101 Cafe in Little Dom's. I'll make sandwiches. I will make meals. And so Lola was talking to her friends who are in the hospitality industry who are providing meals for people on the front lines. I had spent a week just shouting out and tagging restaurants, coffee shops, ice cream parlors, and places that make me feel good. Places that I can count on for security and normalcy, that my son loves to go to. And with all these things stripped away, you start thinking about what matters. And first you start very small, your family, your loved ones. Then you go a bit bigger, right? So if we say family in your house and your apartment, whatever, and then you go outside to your friends and your neighbors. And then you go into your community and then your city and your state and country and the world. What this has proven is that we're all interconnected. We can still get on each other's fucking nerves. We could disagree ideologically and politically, but ultimately we're connected. And so I can't control what happens on a statewide or global level. But what I do have control over besides my household is well, not control because, my wife runs the show, but you know what I mean? Like, so ultimately what I can control is my community. And whenever we're out of this, whether it's 6 months or 18 months, right? I want to see my community looking the same. And if it doesn't look the same, I want a really good version of what the new norm is. And that can only happen if we find ways to support them. So while I disagree what's happening at a federal level with Trump saying, oh, we can be back in business by April, I think we need to continue to stay safer at home. There was just, something that I just shared with you through text that I just got notified that now there's a Business Insider article that's saying that, that Californians and Angelenos might have to be doing this for months and months. I've known that that's probably going to be the way that my life and our lives are. So going back to Dine 11, my son was born at Cedars. If I get sick and require hospitalization, I don't know that I'm going to go to my local one over here in Glendale. I'll probably go to where I feel the safest and I have a connection to. And so I was like, man, they shouldn't have to just like have a candy bar out of a machine while they're like putting their lives at risk, their health at risk, their family's health at risk, to support and keep the community healthy. So I was sitting here shouting out all these restaurants that I love, whether it's Wax Paper or Honey High or Go Get 'em Tiger or Genghis Cohen or Prime Pizza or all these places. They're special to me. Lou Petty downtown. Friends that I have that own restaurants that are trying to figure out, how am I going to pay my employees? How am I going to safely prepare food and get it out to the community? Because in some ways it might be safer to get clean curbside takeout than it is to be in a market around a bunch of people. Right? So as we're all learning on a very steep curve very fast, I just came across a post from that a friend of mine, Susan, had shared of Lola's, and it showed that she was delivering food to the ER. And I went, man, this totally aligns with what I'm talking about. So I reached out to them and I said, how can I help? And they were like, here's how you can help, dude. And so for the last 72 hours, we've gone from Lola and Chris feeding Cedars 2 or 3 times to we became Dine 11, and it has a nonprofit status because we piggybacked on an existing nonprofit. That usually takes months. And if you go to dine11.org, DINE11.org, you can make a donation, right? And nobody's making any money. It's going directly to either the kitchen staff, the chefs, the restaurants. And the goal is this: how do we feed the people who are taking care of us, the doctors and nurses of ERs and ICUs in Los Angeles, while also keeping local businesses that we love and are important to us in business through this super unprecedented and uncertain time? So I've gotten a number of restaurants involved. I've gotten chefs involved. They've gotten tons of them. And we all came together as a group. And there's probably 5 or 6 or 7 of us that have come together to form this. And it's totally egoless. And it's just about, how can we be of service? How can we help? So I would encourage anyone who's seeing this or sharing this or hearing this, that if you have a friend who is a private chef, if you have a friend who has a restaurant, I'm not talking about Cheesecake Factory. I'm not talking about, like, God bless if that's your line of work, but like, corporations are going to be fine. What I'm worried about is like 2 friends with a dream who like leased the space and hired a staff, and people's jobs and lives depend on them being able to prepare and serve food for their local community. Those are the people that are in danger of going out of business. So I've been in touch with all of these people already, just trying to like throw some light on them and go, I love these places. I hope they stay in business. But what Lola and Chris, Brooke, Tom, and and these people from Dine 11 have been able to do is say, we're going to create a fund so that if someone wants to make a donation, big or small, we will put that in the pot, and we are going to divvy it up between the different restaurants and kitchen staffs. Some restaurants are already shut, and their kitchen staffs are coming back in once they've been quarantined and going, hey, we're just going to cook just for this. The generosity of people has been so amazing. One of my favorite chefs, Matty Matheson, posted a story on his IG last night where he was saying it's incredible that with this hospitality industry being completely decimated overnight, the people who are actually giving more than anybody are those same people. And it was so emotional for me to see. He's one of the funniest dudes you could ever meet or see online, but he was visibly moved at it because like all of our restaurants have shut or are figuring out how to adapt. Yet we're giving out free recipes online, that they're teaching people how to cook for themselves, that they are giving food to first responders and people on the front lines of the hospitals and the healthcare industry. So I've been totally blown away by the generosity of the people that I know who honestly don't have a lot to give. And so what Dine 11 is going to do is going to bring food to the hospital workers who need it and keep businesses afloat through this time. And it's pretty rad. So if you know of a restaurant that needs help, if you know of a restaurant that can give help, then you can go to helpdine11@gmail.com to tell us what restaurant. You can go to our Instagram, which is at Dine11, spelled out ONEONE. It's all there. It's all very clear. Or you can just hit me at Justin Warfield on Instagram. And I'm sort of helping as one of the people running the social media and the digital side of things. Yeah. What? You can't hear me? You can't hear yourself? What would be so tight is if this whole time you couldn't hear me and you were like, can't hear you, bro. Hold on. I'm gonna look at my laptop and see. I'm gonna text you.
Justin.
You want me to keep talking? Can you hear me? Yeah. So basically it's been pretty amazing for me because the opportunity music, the opportunity to be able to be of service and to be able to try and make an impact on my community is really rad. I mean, I felt like, you know, I've tried to use my social media as a means to be, I'm no activist, but like I'm sort of an amateur activist where I try to bring light to causes that inspire me, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's voter mobilization. I'm pretty politically active. And I think that the most important thing that we've learned since 2016 is that you got to start locally. So I can't control what happens in St. Louis, Missouri, or in Brooklyn, New York. But if I can be a part of affecting positive change in my community, which is born and raised in Los Angeles, my dad was born and raised in Los Angeles. So like my son is born and raised, you know what I mean? So like as a second generation Angelino, I know that like the world is not going to be the same after this. But like
it's such an inspired idea that you came up with or that you shared with these people. It's such a simple thing and inspired, but all it takes is for somebody, even if, you know, people are hurting and don't have enough money, to donate $10 or $20. That's 2 meals in a doctor or nurses or caregiver's stomach right there.
Dude, for sure. And like the truth is this, is there's so many organizations like this popping up all over the country right now and soon the world. There's several in Los Angeles. The thing about this is all I was doing was having genuine empathy for my friends and the people are like sort of, you know, I like my friend calls them one relationships where it's like people that like you follow on Instagram, they don't follow you. It's like there's people I love and I love their restaurants and I eat there. and they don't know me, but I'm a regular, and like I want them to stay in business. And so I was sort of shouting them out mainly because like a little bit out of feeling guilt that I wasn't frequenting them, that I wasn't keeping them in business right now, because I've chosen to cook at home and stay at home, and the way I'm staying safer at home at this moment doesn't involve takeout. What I've learned is that there is safe ways to do it. So when I start incorporating that into my flow, it's going to be from places that I know observed it. Like the thing is, like this is totally separate from Dine 1-1. This is just my personal take. Is like I was listening to somebody who used to be involved with health in the Obama administration, and he was like, "Look, the safe way for a restaurant to do takeout is for an employer to incentivize a worker, whether it's somebody in delivery or in the kitchen. An employer of a restaurant has to incentivize transparency and say, if you don't feel good, stay home and we'll pay you. Because if somebody hides their illness and comes into a restaurant, that could be somebody's life. That could be somebody's mother or grandmother or grandfather's life. So you want an employer that says, hey man, if you're not sure, stay home for 2 weeks. We're going to pay you. And when you come back in and you're clean bill of health, then you can get back in delivering, food handling, or the kitchen or whatever. So the truth is that to anybody listening, you just have to know the practices of the places that you would be getting takeout from. Maybe there's somebody that's scrambling to stay in business and they don't have the means to do that. So they're just like, we got to keep it rolling. That's a personal choice of whether or not you want to support them. But like I said, the places that I like, whether it's Lou Petty or Honey High or like, Genghis Cohen, people that send out communications to their followers digitally saying, these are the safety practices that we are doing, which are suggested. And we're going to ensure that we can keep you as safe as possible with our curbside delivery. So what started is me just going like, man, I feel for these businesses, just like I feel for like my friends that like write TV shows, just like I feel for my friends that like, work at the bank. Like, I feel for people who are taking a financial hit. And like, make no mistake, I'm not some like super paid fucking dude sitting up in an ivory tower, like casually tweeting about shit. Like, I can't play shows right now.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I was working in an office in a writer's room with other people developing a TV show. Like, that's done. Like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to do this because I know that like how we act now is going to be important, not only when we get through this, like not only in the process, but how it's going to look on the other side, which is like why when I go to the market with the mask and gloves on, if there's somebody with less items in front of me, behind me, I'm going to let them go first, because we're not like, there's no run on food. Like, I'm not so panicked about what's going on that I need to be an asshole and treat people shittily out there in the world. But I can still, like, with gloves on, hold the door open for somebody or help somebody who needs help, because the way we act in crisis is more of an indication of who we are than the way we act when everything is cool, right? And so if we're going to have civilization at the end of this, we have to be civilized. And so for me, I was just trying to figure out something to do with my time other than take care of my family and follow the Twitter feed of every epidemiologist, virologist, and like infectious disease expert in the fucking world. And
well, your feed is making me crazy. You're reflecting all that, and I'm reading it going, I can't look at this at nighttime.
You were one of the first people who was hitting me and going, dude, this is this and this. And I'm like, dude, I know. But the truth is that the hours that I spent doing that are now like figuring out what restaurants need. And also, as a side note, today I'm going to pivot, because we have friends that do more than that, right? So I would encourage anybody with a big Rolodex and a lot of friends and a lot of time on their hands to figure out how to support other people and other workers. Because look, I can write a song today. I could put it up on Instagram, and I could just go Instagram live and go, this is what I'm working on right now, and do some little Justin Warfield solo song that nobody needs to hear, and just go here. And I could also go, hey man, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't play shows. I need to monetize it. And at a certain point, I'm going to have to ask for some help from somebody, right? Which is why, again, like what you were saying, donate to MusiCares, because they're going to help the musicians who are having a hard time. But somebody's going to have to look out for the other people. How are we, like, I have friends that are in the retail clothing industry. I have friends that have music stores. Who's buying clothes right now, and who's buying instruments? My next project is, and if you are listening, what is your project of how you're going to help, and pick something and do it? Because if you want that shop that you love to be open, then if you can't shop there now, right, what are you going to do? So people are buying gift cards, right? But there's got to be some larger mobilization and thing we can do, right? If you want the world and your world to look the way you want it to look, you have to help create that, right? And so for me, I'm thinking about the retail stores that are important to me, and the people in business that are not able to sell and service people. What can I do to help them? And so what I'm going to encourage some people I know to do is do something similar for other businesses. Because, by the way, the stimulus will do that to some degree. But if we're going to be sheltering in place or staying safer at home for some version of the next 18 months, $1,200 per person in the state of, it's not enough. Like, so we're going to figure this out. We have to do it together. But I think the best way to do that, like in a nutshell, what I'm talking about, is if we think of like, how are we going to get through this, and not just how am I going to get through this,
Yeah. So that brings us back to, the places that we've spoken about today, MusiCares. They're already up and running. They have a structure in place. They don't have to figure it out. They're ready to go. They're ready to start helping people right away. If you want to make,
they're already
donation.
helping people.
Yeah. So there's the button you can donate there. And Dine 11 is truly inspired, because, like it or not, it's going to get a lot worse. They're going to get more busy in these hospitals and places where they're giving care. And there's going to be more need. They can't cook at home. They don't have a choice. They're going to have to eat out one way or another. So if we can put a nice meal in front of them, that might be better than something they can get out of the machine or at the cafeteria. So it's really a beautiful thing that you guys have come up with.
And like for me, again, like I really like, I'm sort of the reluctant front man in the band. I started singing and I started rapping when I was 14 and doing it. And I've been the singer in the bands, but I'm actually not the guy that wants to be like, look at me. I don't like my picture. I don't like making things about me. I'm usually in the background of most band photos. I'm not trying to bring any light on myself. That I'm just a dude with like more followers than the average person that we know that's not in the industry, but by no means is it like a Kardashian amount of followers, right? But if I can help encourage people to stay at home and social distance, then I'm going to use that platform so that maybe 10,000 people who see it go, hey man, well, if he's doing it, maybe we should get off the beach, or maybe we don't need to be up at Runyon, or whatever the thing is, you know what I mean? Or if the people, okay, I can't reach her. It's really scary. Everybody's sick. I've had people hit me from different states, from New Orleans, saying 1 in 3 people I know is sick. Like, one of the things that freaks me out the most about the COVID-19 thing is like being the age that I am as a pure Gen Xer and having lived through the AIDS epidemic. A lot of people would be, I mean, I as you do, don't you remember people would be like, well, they seem like they're clean. They seem like they're cool. And you're like, what the fuck does that mean? Seem like, it's like, be safe, wear a condom, don't share needles. What are you doing? Like, growing up in the 80s was gnarly. And now in 2020, we have people going like, yeah, I mean, they say it's bad on the news, but like the numbers are this. But like, people are asymptomatic. There are people who think that that have it that don't have any indication. It's super dangerous. And like you said, man, we haven't even hit it. We're still probably a week behind Italy and what's going on in Lombardy. And New York is insane. Los Angeles is going to be insane. North Dakota is not going to be as insane. So these people who are going, well, I don't really see it around me, doesn't mean that it's not happening. You know what I mean? Just
and we
like
have poor leadership. The leadership is sending out that message like, hey, we're going to be ready to get going back by Easter. And so that sends the message like, oh, this is not that bad. This is not that serious.
Dude, my birthday is next month on 4/20. I am planning on how I'm going to celebrate I'm planning how I'm going to be celebrating my 47th birthday in my house. My wife is celebrating a big day and turning 50 in May. Like, I have big plans for that. Like, those big plans is going to be this. It's going to be a big rager on Zoom, right? I mean, there is a very strong and very real possibility that the only summer activities are going to be in your backyard, laying out and getting a tan. Like,
or your
no
backyard.
One's at the beach.
I'm
What?
coming over to you. I don't have a backyard. I'll come to your backyard.
It's small but nice.
Okay.
I'm prepared for the fact that, you know, this might be a year where my kid's not trick-or-treating. So I think we all have to, every day is different. We're all sitting here going like, you know, everybody throws around, it's the new normal. But like, some days you wake up and you're just like, I can't, man. This is the worst. And some days you're just like, no, it's going to be all right. You know what I mean? And like, I vacillate between the two. Sometimes and that's why, again, I can't stress enough. Take care of yourself, your own mental health. Take care of your family. Take care of your friends from a distance and remotely. But like, if you want to feel better, it's like, it's a tenet of 12-step recovery, which for me has changed my life and has done so for 21 years. If I want to feel better, I got to help somebody else.
Right on. So I appreciate you being here, spending the time that you have. I know you got other stuff to do, so I want to cut you loose. You've been very generous with your time. And I also...
Ask your question?
Yeah?
How are you?
I'm doing okay, Justin. I have enough food. You know, I'm not worried about food. I was one of those people who, like you, was kind of ahead of the curve. I was like, this is not going to be good. I started getting more food than I normally do. I went to Target and realized, oh, wow, they're already out of hand sanitizer. So I'm not the only one thinking like this. And this was in February, you know, and so I'm doing okay. Have food, have a roof over my head, and I'm really just focused on today. Because if I think about the oh my God, what's going to happen? It's overwhelming. So I'm just thinking about what can I do today? What do I need to do today? Get out, get a little exercise, talk to some people. I do these online Zoom meetings. I'm sober as well, and they've been a lifesaver. The people that put those together, man,
incredible.
Yeah, that's a lifesaver. Truly and just literally a lifesaver.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
You know, I was on a FaceTime with a good friend right before we jumped on, and we were talking about how the whole world can adopt what we already know as the foundation of our lives as people in recovery. If the whole world can just start to take this one day at a time, then it won't seem as daunting. When I first got clean and sober, I was like, what's going to happen when I get married? I want to toast with some champagne. What's going to happen when I'm, watching a movie and I want to like smoke a doob? What's going to happen when I have Indian food and I want to have a beer? What's going to happen when I'm really upset and I'm bummed out and I need to tie one on or get really loaded? Like, and somebody said to me, just worry about today. And when I got married, however many years into that, 10 years into that or whatever, or 5-6 years into that, I have no idea how long ago. I had non-alcoholic champagne and I had a sip and I was like, I like the Martinelli's better. And so like, how do we deal with a global pandemic that's unlike anything we've seen since 1918? It's been 100 years, right, since we've seen anything like this. The ramifications of what's going to happen, even with great leadership at the top in the United States. And by the way, England with Boris Johnson, it's equally fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, those are sort of like brothers in ignorance, like those two. And they're so behind, it's crazy. But this is not just going to be 18 months of our lives. When you say 18 months is sort of the magic number, because the big brains who are on this field, that, you know, to have a well-tested, safe, and effective vaccine, and that's when it's going to be feasible. I am prepared. And by the way, some people can't wrap their heads around that. I'm not suggesting everybody sit there and tell their kids that their lives are going to be different for 18 months. I personally have a flow of information where I know how to give the right amount of information to my son, and he knows how to process this, because I'm not trying to tiptoe around it. I'm like, dude, the next 18 months of our lives may be crazy. There's a big chance that we may not be going to Coachella, you know, in October, or that we may not be going to Camp Flog Gnaw in November, but we will go again. But the only way we can look at something for a 12-year-old like that, the things that he finds comfort in. Hey, dude, we're not going to Montauk this summer, and we're not going to Coachella as planned, but we will go again. And like, the only way that we can look at a decade of what it'll take the economy. I mean, look, our economy now has been thriving up until this crisis, and it's not because Trump's a genius or or because of Mnuchin. It's because Obama put things in place that took 8 years to get here, right? So it's going to take us 10, I'm not an economist, I'm not Robert Reich, maybe 15 years from now, we will get out of the hole that we dig in order to be okay with this. So how do you deal with knowing you might be indoors in some version of social distancing for 18 months, let alone what the economy looks like and how that trickles down to each of us? The only way you can get through it is one day at a time. It's like, okay, today's Wednesday, right? Like, I like a group of guys I have that I hang out with that are like a huge source of strength for me. The way they do it is we meet on Tuesday nights. And whenever somebody's like, man, I got this in my life and this, they go, hey, it's just Tuesday. And like, the truth is you know this because that's how you live your life. And I've known you for probably close to 15 years, is if we can just be like, just for today, I'm okay, then I think that's the only way we can get through this, man. Because it's too daunting otherwise.
And when we do get a chance to go to Coachella or run into you on Hillhurst like I have before, it's going to be something so joyful, because it'll be like coming back from the edge. It'll be, those little things will be just as joyful as the big things.
I know, man. Like, it's crazy. Like, and like, look, dude, I'm not some hugely benevolent soul. Like, I'm like a person just like anybody else. I'm impatient. I can be a total dick. I can be all these things. Like, you know, you need only ask my wife. Like, I'm not a saint who's sitting here like being of service to everybody 24/7. I have selfish interests and all of that. But like, I would gladly see some idiot on the street like taking a selfie in front of like angel wings right now, if it meant that like society could be back to normal. Like, yeah. I just want it to be fucking December again, man. And it's really, really hard. And I hope that people find a way to give and help. I hope people find a way to live and survive. And I hope people find, to any creatives listening, write a book, create a film, make a record. But at the same time, don't feel like you have to, because like, just be. And it's just okay to not do anything. You know, I saw something on Instagram where it was saying like, it's okay just to not do anything too. And like, the last thing I want to say is like, I haven't had the opportunity to hang out with Linda. Adam, my bandmate and best friend, works really closely with Linda, and I've heard really great things about her. But I'm really good friends with Carrie, and I've had a relationship with Carrie since he promoted the festival Starry Nights, and we played it with Strawberry Alarm Clock and Dandy Warhols. And Carrie's amazing. But what Carrie and Linda are doing with We Are Here is really where the rubber meets the road, and like proof is in the pudding of the good that they're doing. So putting this channel together, the many things I have no doubt they will do moving forward, to create and to support and to entertain and to inform. It's pretty heavy. I mean, the organization that's pretty close to my heart that Jennifer Howell started, called the Art of Elysium, takes the arts and music and film and dance and art to people who are sick in hospitals, usually children. They've been doing that for, I think, God, upwards of 15 years. And the last gala they had, We Are Here was the curator and one of the big sponsors of it. And I mean, I got to watch Nirvana play minus Kurt Cobain, with St. Vincent and Beck joining Dave Grohl's daughter and Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic and Pat Smear. And that was really heavy. And like Carrie and Linda made that happen. And Carrie and Linda kind of moved mountains. And so it's really rad that they're partnering with MusiCares. It's really rad that they're giving us an opportunity to have a dialogue. And I'm just really stoked that they exist, because they've been doing this before and they're going to do it after.
Yeah. I'm going to let you get back to your family, Justin. And I really,
I got to make lunch, man.
Yeah. But I just want to remind people, Dine 11 to help feed the people on the front lines. Also, you can donate on the button, if there's a button somewhere, for MusiCares. And I'm going to be here for another 20 minutes or so playing tunes, but you left me with a song from Time I Impala.
Wait, hold on. Will you do up the other one instead?
I don't know if I got that one yet.
Perfume Genius?
Oh. Hold on a second. You didn't tell me that, but I might have that here. What
On the Floor by Perfume Genius is I think, I used to like the way people used to feel like Radiohead was like the most important band of our time, and they probably are. Blonde Redhead has always been my favorite band since I became aware of them, and Adam and I became obsessed with them. But since I was first able to see Tame Impala before when I saw Perfume Genius, when I saw Perfume Genius before he played Coachella at a show at the Mayan, I immediately felt like Perfume Genius was the most important recording artist making music today. And everything about it connects with me. And I adore him as a person and as an artist. And his new single just feels like 80s Stevie Wonder with jamming with Blake Mills and, Alan and Mike from Perfume Genius. And it's just so fucking feel good. And On the Floor is kind of my anthem right now. And it just, to hear like happy music, it's kind of crazy. So that's my jam.
There we go then. I'm going to give you a hug, Justin. Love you.
Love you too, man.
I hope we don't have to do this very long, but maybe we can do it again sometime, and take care of yourself.
Yeah, man. You too.
Here we go. Perfume Genius.
Trying, but still I close my eyes. Dreaming, bringing this face to mine. Lock the door, constant blessing all through the night. Fire rips me all up inside. On the floor, I pace, I run my mouth, I pray and wait. I cross out his name on the page. This washes away. My body is safe. Now I'm feeling right. This heart is in mine. rising, full of his chest on me.
That's Perfume Genius, as requested by Justin Warfield of She Wants Revenge. And thanks again to Justin for jumping on here and spending the time. Hey, talking about, some very real stuff. That's where we're at. Talking about how this thing is hitting cities like New York and now New Orleans. And so let's pay tribute.
Listen, all you New Yorkers.
Bronx, Queen, and Staten, from the Battery to the top of Manhattan, Asian, Middle Eastern, and Latin, black, white, New York, you make it happen. Brownstones, water towers, trees, skyscrapers, fighters, prize fighters, and Wall Street traders. We come together on the subway cars, diversity unified, whoever you are. We doing fine on the 1 and 9 line. On the L, we doing 12 on the number 10 bus. We fighting fuss, we thorough in the boroughs, cause that's a must. I remember when the future don't pull no flicks, so running home after school, I do play kids, and lunch like focus to be down on Montague Street, and hit the Brooklyn Street Mall for the sneakers on my feet. Dear New York, I hope you're doing well. I know a lot's happened and you've been through hell, so we give thanks for providing a home. Through your kids at Ellis Island, we passed in Jones. Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, and Staten, from the Battery to the top of Manhattan, Asian, Middle Eastern, and Latin, black, white, New York, you make it happen. L-I-E, the B-Q-E, hippies at the band show with the LSD, M-I-B-B-Ds from B-I-M, you know I'm repping Manhattan the best I can. Stop off the speaker bar, stop throwing out, sneaking in at 4 a.m. after going out, you get robbing in the park at Diana Ross, but everybody started looting when the lights went off.
From the South Bronx on out to Queensbridge, from Islands, Queens, right down to Bay Bridge, from Castle Hill to the Lower East Side, from 1010 Winds to 5 and 5.
Dear New York, this is the love letter to you and how you brought us together. We can't say enough about all you do, cause in the city we're ourselves and electric too. Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, and Staten, from the Battery to the top of Manhattan, Asian, Middle Eastern, and Latin, black, white, New York, you make it happen. Shout out to South Park where my mom hails from, right next to High Bridge, across from Harlem to the Bangkok Court where my mom and dad left before they moved on down to the upper west.
Strong after all that's going on. We dedicate this song, just a little something to show some respect to the city that plans and mans and tests.
It's 9/11, we're still living and loving life we've been given. Ain't nothing gonna take it away from us. We looking pretty and greedy, cause in the city we trust. See in New York, I know a lot has changed. 2 towers down, but we're still in the game. Home to the many, rejected no one except the people of all places, wherever they're from.
Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, and Staten, from the Battery to the top of Manhattan, Asian, Middle Eastern, and Latin, black, white, New York, you make it happen. Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, and Staten, from the Battery to the top of Manhattan, Asian, Middle Eastern, and Latin, black, white, New York, we make it happen.
New York,
I never thought I'd get it emotional at a Beastie Boys song, but man, oh man, when I hear that, it really hits me in the heart. Always did really after 9/11, but when I hear it now in reference to the difficulties they're facing right now, and it's just beautiful. And I miss Yauk. Damn it. I miss Adam Yauk. And this book, Beastie Boys book, definitely, if you're a fan, worth checking out. And now, they did the live shows that were filmed by Spike Jones, and that's going to be a movie, the Beastie Boys movie. It was supposed to come out on the IMAX, not happening, but it is going to be premiered on Apple TV in April. And man, I didn't think that I was going to get emotional about the Beastie Boys, but man, we grew up with them. We watched them be stupid kids, watched them grow up. And I think we had kind of parallel experiences to that and missed that band. Damn. But I'm looking forward to seeing that movie, The Beastie Boys Story. So, giving a shout out to the five boroughs, and this one for New Orleans, Basin Street, and Louis Armstrong. Give me a break.
Yes, Basin Street is a street where the folks they all meet in New Orleans, the land of dreams, by the tables was. Yeah, these happy toasties and whoa, it's a tree swinging on Basin Street. Take it really
That's American genius right there. Genius. Man, Louis Armstrong, Basin Street Blues, recorded in 1956 in Chicago. And now New Orleans getting hit hard. We're going to hear this story over the next week or so. But I'm going to leave you with Johnny Cash, Benmont Tench on the pipe organ.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of the lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never